Blarney Castle, the truth behind the myth. There are many castles in Ireland, but there is little debate over which is the most famous. Only one castle has been the site visit from people as diverse as Sir Winston Churchill to Mick Jagger, from Nellie Bly to Laurel and Hardy, from Sir Walter Scott to Bernice Pahi Bishop, last of the Kamehameha dynasty of Hawaii. The name of the castle has become not only a word in the English language, but for many, a key part of the Irish identity. I speak, of course, of Blarney Castle in County Cork, home of the famous Blarney Stone. The legend of the stone is that any who kiss it receive the gift of fair speech and skillful flattery. To do so is not without risk. The stone is set into the battlements of the castle, and those kissing it must literally bend over backwards to do so. As one might expect from the legend that ties into the telling of tall tales, there are many different accounts of how the stone came to have its powers. Nobody knows who built the first castle of Blarney. The name comes from Blarney, meaning small field, and it was said to have originally been the site of Druidic rituals, with a nearby stone circle as the focus of these. A stone from this circle used in building the castle is the fabled Blarney Stone. The castle was built on the site of an earlier destroyed castle by Cormac Lydear McCarthy, Lord of Muscree, and part of the powerful McCarthy clan. They had even sent troops to Bannockburn to support Edward the Bruce, under the leadership of an earlier Cormac who was over king of Munster at the time. In gratitude for their support, the Bruce gave them half of the famous stone of Scone to return to Ireland, as it had been brought to Scotland by Fergus More Mac Eric, first king of Scotland 1,000 years before. The stone was passed down through the McCarthy family until Cormac Lydear incorporated it into the castle he built in 1446, where it became known after the castle as the Blarney Stone. Cormac Lydear McCarthy was involved in a lawsuit and prayed to the Celtic goddess Clortana for guidance. Unusual for an Irishman in the 15th century to pray to a pagan goddess, but the old roots run deep. She told him in a dream to kiss the first stone he saw in the field on his way to the court. He did, then argued his case with great eloquence and won it. He had the stone from the field incorporated into the wall of his castle. The famous Blarney Stone. Cormac is also credited with saving the Blarney witch from drowning after she had broken free from the witch stone on the estate where she had been in prison. In gratitude, she told him about the magical powers of a particular stone in his castle wall, the Blarney Stone. The McCarthys, as with all Irish clans of the time, faced pressure from the English. The Earl of Leicester's was ordered by Queen Elizabeth to take possession of the castle from the McCarthys. But the owner of the castle at the time, Cormac Laghark McCarthy, put him off through letters filled with excuses and diversions. These were forwarded to Queen Elizabeth as the Blarney letters. She took to calling any similar letters nothing but Blarney. The McCarthys held onto the castle until the Irish Confederate Wars of the 17th century. The Irish part of the War of the Three Kingdoms, the English part of which was known as the English Civil War. The McCarthys supported the Catholic Confederates against the forces of Cromwell, and in 1646, Roger Boyle, better known as Lord Borghill, one of Cromwell's generals, led an attack on the castle, motivated as much by the rumors of it holding the McCarthy's treasure as by the tactical importance of the castle. When his artillery broke through the walls, however, he found the castle deserted, save for a few servants who informed him that the inhabitants had escaped through tunnels connecting to the local cave system. As they fled, they are said to have thrown the treasure into the nearby lake, and several subsequent owners would try draining the lake to recover it, without success. When the monarchy were restored to power in England, the castle was returned to Donald McCarthy, who had gone from being a leader of the Confederates to a general in the Charles II's forces. He was also made Earl of Clancarty. The family continued in service to the English military, with Donald's eldest son Charles dying in the Second Anglo-Dutch War. This would prove to be their downfall. However, as like many of the Irish nobility, they chose to fight for James II in the Williamite Wars. The fourth Earl, named like his father, Donald McCarthy, was actually given a Protestant education at Oxford at the instance of his Protestant mother. However, he was heavily influenced by his uncle Justin McCarthy, who was a personal friend of the future James II. He took part in the resistance of the Jacobites in England. He was captured and imprisoned in the Tower of London. He escaped in 1695 and joined James II's court in Saint Germain, but 2 years later he sneaked back into England to try to retrieve his wife Elizabeth, whose father, the Earl of Sunderland, hated him. They had been married as children in a political move by the king. Their marriage never even consummated, and he had not seen her in years. She at first refused to see him, but he eventually persuaded her to let him in, and they went to bed together in Norfolk House in London. One of the maids informed the Earl of Sunderland, however, and he had a group of soldiers dragged Donald from his martial bed to Newgate prison. Elizabeth campaigned fiercely for his release, he having clearly made quite an impression, and eventually King William III granted him a pardon on condition of exile, allegedly as much to be rid of her constant petition as anything else. The pair moved to Hamburg, where they would have 2 children, a daughter and a son. The son would become governor of the Newfoundland, fight on the side of Charles Stuart, and be the last of the McCarthy male line. The castle in the meantime became the property of the Hollow Sword Blade Company. This was an intriguing legal entity which had originally been founded by royal charter in 1691 to produce hollow ground rapiers, that is to say words with a concave shape to the blade. The corporation was granted the power to purchase land and issue stock, and after the sword marketing business failed financially in 1702, this aspect of it became far more valuable to the financiers of London. They used it as a shell to purchase some of the estates forfeited by Irish lords who had supported James II, including those of the Earl Clancarty. It paid for this not with cash, but rather by agreeing to take on army debt from the war at a more favorable rate than could be obtained on the open market. The members of the Hollow Blade Syndicate also used their insider knowledge of how this would cause the general trading price of the debt to rise in order to realize a large personal profit. Using the Irish land as security, the Hollow Blade Company went on for several years, acting as an informal alternative to the Bank of England. This was the only legal bank at the time, until a stricter enforcement of the law against unchartered banking, as well as disputes to title of the territory it held in Ireland, led to it being dissolved, though not before it was key in forming the South Sea Company, and thus in precipitating the first great English financial crisis, the South Sea Bubble. One of the assets offloaded early by the Hollow Sword Blade Company was Blarney, which was bought by Sir James Stuart John Jeffreys, the governor of Cork City. He built a mansion attached to the old keep, but in 1820 this caught fire and burnt down and was never rebuilt. The keep was abandoned and remains so to this day. In 1846, Louisa Jane Jeffreys, heiress to the family, married Sir George Clothers. He built her a new home in Blarney, an elevated site near the castle, in an effort to console after the death of her children. This house is still standing today, and it is in the gardens of this house that Blarney Castle now stands, attracting thousands of visitors annually. Quite when those visitors began arriving is a matter of some debate. The earliest verifiable reference is from 1785 in the Classic Dictionary of the Vulgar Tongue, a fast-named book by Francis Gross. Gross was independently wealthy past his time traveling around the country documenting local folklore along with recording the slang of the common folk, which is of course of singular interest to modern historians as a window into the lives of ordinary people of the time. He describes the Blarney Stone as on the very top of an ancient castle of that name, extremely difficult of access, so that to have ascended to it was considered as proof of perseverance, courage, and agility. Many are supposed to claim that honor who never achieved the adventure. Here to have kissed the Blarney Stone is used to mean one who tells marvelous but false story, ironically different from its modern usage, as those with the gift of the gab are those who do not kiss the stone, but who merely claim to have. Still, the magical property of the stone soon became a fixture in the public imagination, and when Irish humorists added some verses to the popular song The Groves of Blarney describing the magical stone, the legend went to use the modern terminology viral. Who it was that first made the pilgrimage to the ruined castle is unknown, but by the end of the 19th century, it had become the essence of an Irish adventure. The myths rose up, with each local eager to explain the magic behind the stone, and each traveler eager to believe. In the end, then, there is nothing to be found but pure, unadulterated Blarney. I hope you enjoyed our first folklore episode. If you have any folklore stories you want to share with us, leave it in the comments below. And as always, my good beings, be loving and caring to each other.